Hello everyone, this is Mr. Escamilla, and today I'm going to be showing you how to animate in Final Cut Pro. And so I'm going to show you how to animate the position and scale of this photo that I have here. This can be very useful if you want to tell a story with still images. And so the first step that you need to complete is you have to make sure that your photo that you're wanting to animate on the timeline is selected. So I'm going to click here. You want to make sure it has this yellow highlighted box around the image. The second thing you want to do is make sure you move this playhead. You have to make sure that it is at the very front of the image that you are going to animate, that it's on the first frame. That is if you want the animation to start at the beginning. And when you click on that, you're going to be looking in the inspector panel here in the top right of Final Cut Pro. You're going to want to make sure that you have this video inspector selected. Like if one of these is selected, make sure you change it to this film strip, and you're going to want to show the transform category here. And as I mentioned earlier, the things that we're going to be altering are this photo's position and the scale. We would like to animate these. So the first thing you're going to want to decide is how you want this animation to look on the first frame or at the beginning of this video. Do you want this to be zoomed out and then slowly zoom in? Or do you want this to already be zoomed in and maybe zoom out? Or do you want to pan across the image? Those are all different kinds of animations you can do. So I'll go over a few of them. This first animation I'm going to zoom out. So in order to zoom out, I first have to be zoomed in. How do you zoom in? Well, you have to increase the size or the scale of the image. So I'm going to increase this. I'm going to move this to maybe 185 right there. And then you might not like the way this photo looks when you just adjust the scale, so you can also adjust the position. So I might want to move this over here to where the house is front and center, and maybe I don't want the roof cut off. Maybe I want the roof to show right there. So this is how I want my image to look on its first frame. So once you have what you want the image to look like and it's on the very first frame here in the timeline, what you're going to want to do is set a keyframe. I'm going to click on this little diamond here to where it'll turn yellow, and I'm going to click also next to scale. This adds what's called a keyframe. Very important key term. Once you do that, the program knows that you're wanting this to move, but it's not going to move. Notice if I move my playhead across the timeline, it doesn't know where I want it to move. So the last step when animating is to change the parameters that you've set a keyframe to, so that being position or scale. So now if I move my scale to, let's say, 122%, now my picture will animate out. However, there's a reason I wanted to animate the position and the scale. Look what happened. If I just zoom out, we have these ugly black bars on the top and on the right side here. So I'm also going to animate not only the scale here, but I'm also going to animate the position. I want this, while it's zooming out, to slowly move into place to where I want this to animate to. So now notice when I go to the first frame, it starts in that position that I indicated, and over the course of this picture's life, it's slowly gonna zoom out until it reaches those values that I set for that second keyframe. And so this is how you can perform a zoom out animation. Now I'm going to press Command Z to undo that. I'm going to show you another animation that you could do, and that would be just zooming in. So in this instance, on your first keyframe, you don't have to do anything. Just make sure that this looks the way that you want it to. If you have a little black bar here on the side, you can adjust the scale maybe to zoom in just a hair bit. But now with this photo mostly zoomed out, I'm going to put a keyframe on this first frame here of the scale and the position. I'm going to go to the last frame And then I'll do the opposite, essentially, of what we did earlier. Maybe I want to focus on this window that has the lights on. I'm going to make my last frame. Notice I've moved the playhead to the last frame. And it's going to slowly move into this window with the lights on. So if I play back this animation, we start zoomed out. And slowly over time, we're going to zoom in to this window that has the lights on. So that is a photo that's zoomed out, slowly animating or zooming in. Now, one last animation that I would like to show you is called a pan. This is where your photo is moving from left to right, and you are not going to be adjusting the position of it. It's just going to be moving left to right. So the way that you would do this is you need to make sure that your photo is zoomed in, because you need picture space for this to move across, essentially. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here, and I'm not going to be setting a keyframe to the scale in this instance of this animation. I'm going to just move this slightly over, maybe to the left. We'll start on this tree and slowly pan to the right side. So I'm going to set a keyframe, this time just on the position. Once again, I'm going to go to the last frame in the timeline, and then I'm going to adjust this position parameter to move to the right side of the photo. I'll probably move it there. Now if I play back this animation, notice this has a different effect. Instead of the effect of us moving in or further away from the photo, we're just simply moving across it. I recommend using a variety of these different kind of animations in your photos, so that way you have a lot of variance. I want to just tell you lastly that you can also animate text this way. If you add a basic title, and I'm just going to put whatever my title for this would be, maybe The Haunted House, and you want this to animate, you can make sure your text is selected. You're going to want to, right here, there's options for the position, the scale. You can animate these similarly. Actually, you're going to do it here. So you can put a keyframe here on the scale on the first frame, and then by the time you get to the end, maybe slowly zoom in. That is how you could animate text. You can also animate the opacity if you want this to zoom out. So I could set a keyframe here, go to the end, and then have this text fade out. And so keep that in mind as you are working on your video. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Once again, this was Mr. Escamilla. Hope you all enjoyed this tutorial video. See you all in the future.